All right, I'm just too excited. I got to get started. I just gotta kind of have to start. Hold on one second. If I bring this up and fingers crossed. Good morning, everybody. Hi. I can't believe it. It's incredible. It's Friday, and I managed to actually get some decent internet. I'm at the venue at Monsters on the Mountain in a room all by myself. It's too much room for little old me, but it'll do. And it certainly helps to have some semblance of genuine internet. So I thank you guys for being here. For eyeline purposes today, that is me looking at the video that I'm going to put up because things are swapped. Sorry. And this is me looking at you guys in the chat, and this is me checking my software. So now that we all know where my eyes are going and when, um, it's been really fun. Did stand up last night. Apparently, Gary Sharon might jump up on stage with us tonight. It's a possibility. Fingers crossed. He might join us at the end of this. I mean, it's who knows. It's very exciting. I have not most of the bands that are performing arrived either late last night or during the day today, and so I will not be able to like interact with them until it's far too late. Otherwise, I would have brought them on the show because a lot of them are just like they're asleep now, and as they should be. Hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. There you are. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Yes, it is the morning show, but it's technically afternoon here. I will have to tighten the show up to 90 minutes today if you're okay with that. For two reasons. One, my voice. I need to not talk as much today by a factor of like 25%. And then, of course, we're doing a Nerd Halen meet and greet at 2 o'clock here. It's like a photo event, so people get, to take pictures with us. So I had to, if I may, bring your uniform to work day. So it's just literally like I bring all my gear and then all my stuff is just like I'm gonna have to change in this room. I'll but I'm just saying, play your cards right. It might turn into only sparklers. Who knows? Thanks, Dergarella. I appreciate you guys understanding. I have to sing tonight and tomorrow, so I'm a little vocally nervous about the amount and the volume and the scrutiny. It's fun. It's very exciting. Um, and the only issue, it's certainly, the only issue vocally in this place is it's so like it's the humidity here and the heat is so it's a lot. You're super sweaty the second you step outside. So to compensate for it, all the buildings have dehumidifiers running nonstop, and they have and air conditioning on nonstop. Not the best thing for vocals. Not the best thing for the throat. So the interesting thing is the best thing is kind of to be outside. So if I'm a sweaty mess later on the other show, you'll understand why. Yes, I have a gargle eye. One of the things, so I have a ritual when I roll into town and I have a lot of shows. And I go and I buy salt. I go buy a big Morton's thing of salt because gargling salt water is one of the best things for my throat when it gets worn out. And so I go find a local, general store or something like that, or in this case, there's a Walgreens up, 2 blocks from the hotel. Walk down there, get that, and then it's just hot water and that kind of stuff. The ginger tea, it's funny over the years, people have made recommendations about what they think would, oh, this really works, this really works. The truth is, it's different for everybody because the cause of your vocal fatigue will be a different thing for everybody. And so there's a bunch of like mint tea in particular, like there were people who swear by mint tea. That drives, oh, thanks, President Dark Brandon. Thank you so much. Love you back. Um, Mint tea dries my throat out. It's terrible. Lemons, I just eat them. I don't like putting them in tea is fine. Like honey tea, that's great. Just arguably the tea part is not necessary. It's really just an excuse to have some hot water. So hot water with honey and lemon, That's the tea. But just biting the tea. Yeah. Shot of lemon juice and Tabasco sauce. Hot, I will say spicy foods do help, although if you're singing for a long time, it can cause acid reflux. So spicy foods can do that to some people. So like I said, you kind of have to dial in what works for you over time. Eating lemons whitens your teeth but ruins your enamel. I will keep that in mind. I don't do it regularly. It's only on singing days. Celine Dion does olive oil. I have not watched that movie, but I will add that to my Pornhub search bar as soon as I get home. Now I can't get Celine Dion does olive oil out of my head. Where is Popeye in this situation? That's what I want to know. He must be going nuts. Two women that skinny, just getting it on. Sorry, this is ridiculous. I just that the immediate Celine Dion does olive oil. What am I typing in? What's wrong with me? Just like just Popeye just leaning up against the wall, chomping spinach. Just that's terrible. Gargling with olive oil can prevent snoring. This is going nowhere. I'm just saying. Hot water is what my Polish grandmother used to call Polish tea. That's the people yeah. Okay, Popeye.
Me what's king me olives? My heart does go on.
It's just so bad. Shall we jump right into the trends right away before I talk myself into a circle? Stone soup, right. Obviously, this has been a very bad, no good, horrible week for the Donald. And I have to say, hold on, I don't know why this is being weird. This guy. Where's this? There we go. Hold on. That little artifact thing on the top of the thing is going to annoy me. Yep. There you go. In the middle of the thing. So, obviously, seized. Not a good week to be Donald Trump, I'm just saying. It's been bad for a while. He's always managed to dodge a bunch of this shit, but this is pretty great. The whole, like, I'm enjoying this part. I believe that one of the things, the irony about the entire Trump presidency and all of the times where he dodged a bullet, legally speaking, multiple times, is all, who's Billie Eilish? Yeah, Eilish, right. Eilish. The reason, the ironic reason why he dodged his comeuppance in a lot of these situations is because of what he would refer to as the deep state. The very fact that there are a ton of, oh, thank you, Paul, for the super chat. Appreciate you guys. I always, when things are, when I'm on the fence about the quality of the show, I never remember to promote and do the thing. So like and subscribe. Please give a thumbs up. Support the show. If you like the morning show, let me know. Thumbs up, leave a comment, good or bad. It doesn't really matter. If you're here as a troll, thank you for your eyeballs. The algorithm loves you. Thank you for spreading us to parts of the internet we would never reach otherwise. You're good people, and I'm sorry that that's the only job you can get at the Macedonian hacker farm. Now, the reason Trump has been dodging, the consequences of his actions for quite some time is because we would prefer in the United States a smoothly running government as crazy as things can get. We would rather not have what, the right wing keeps referring to as a banana republic situation. And because of that, we'll let a lot of shit slide. It's one of the reasons why there's we clamor on about corruption, but compared to other governments, honest to God, our level of corruption is so fucking minor. The fact that the peak of corruption, besides the Trumps of the world, gathering people on January 6th and that kind of shit, the peak of corruption is for us insider trading. Talks is stock tips about stuff that either the government's going to buy into, or because national security stuff, people are like, oh shit, this country's going to be one of our buddies and they've got this industry, and this industry. It'd be a good time to buy into mangoes or corn or silicon or whatever the shit they have, right? So knowing that we're going to go from one country to another country in Africa as far as getting, buying minerals from them or something like that, or knowing that there's a destabilizing force there that's going to wreck the government and we don't have troops on the ground or any stake in that, we're not going to be able to do it. And so you can see 3-6 months off, a country's going to fail or freak out or do something awful, and the industry from there is going to take a giant shit. You could call your broker and go, get me the fuck out of lithium or whatever from that, take me out of gold, whatever, that thing, right? But that is, that's the, for the most part, that's the worst of it. We do not have the Russian level of corruption or the Chinese level of corruption by, like, I mean, there's just an order of magnitude. It is fucking ridiculous, the volume of corruption that's over there. Like, it's so written into the system. The Chinese have a word for it. It's guanxi. You cannot conduct business without guanxi, which is basically a combination of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and bribery. Flat out, just kickbacks on everything. And the irony is, the Russian part of it is even more subversive because these oligarchs have been gutting the military there for years, never believing that Putin would actually pull the trigger on something like he did in Ukraine, really. That a lot of them were like, we can sell off parts. Nobody's ever going to use these fucking tanks again. What are we doing? We'll hire mercenary forces to come in and shoot people, and we'll gas or blow them up. But we're not going to have to roll these things in. So nobody's going to start this thing and realize that the starter's been sold out from under it. They don't care. So the volume, I mean, you can't even, in this country, I swear to you, you cannot even grasp. When we say corruption and graft in our government, we have like a cute, Illinois governor trying to, like, I'll back you and you'll get the Senate seat. I'll put you in there so that you can run as an incumbent kind of stuff and the idea that people have a little bit of insider information, so they buy stocks and they trade stocks or whatever. Both things need to be dealt with. Both things are corruption. Both things are wrong. We need laws that are stricter that avoid even the appearance of those kind of things. That definitely set up barriers to that shit happening. That's crucial. It's happening. But even that, like, is nowhere in the fucking ballpark of the volume of corruption in other countries. Like, I'm telling you. Just go look. Hey, I'll give you an example, if I may. I was going to go straight to the trends, but this is from Bloomberg. You thought China's tech slowdown was bad. This is about China being the sort of through port for a lot of tech production and that kind of stuff. But they have a lot of other industries that rely on stuff that comes in and out of China, and they're falling apart. You guys will remember, fucking 6 years ago, even before I went and did the show Explore China that we were asked to do, which I now, in retrospect, look at as an overt act by the propaganda arm of the CCP, knowing that I was doing work for the Taiwanese Tourism Board years ago, and that they were just trying to buy influencers and people like that who, especially people who, like, love Chinese culture. I mean, I have a Chinese name, for fuck's sake. So beyond my English name, I actually, instead of having just, try to pronounce my English name, like, I have Huo Guanghao, that's my Chinese name. And that's how invested I am in Chinese culture. I love it. And my study of Kung Fu and all that kind of stuff. It's something that I find a deep connection with. And it's not like it just seems like they were just like, okay, who's ever been over here who likes the place? Let's start throwing them in front of our, like, use them as basically like spokesperson human shields for our bullshit. So, um, what's Chip's Chinese name? That's a good one. Uh, his name would be 吃很多的东西, eats a lot of stuff. I don't know. Anyways, 吃东西, 吃东西. That's his name. Am I a Buddhist? No, I'm not. I believe Buddhism is not a religion. It's a form of mental hygiene, of spiritual and philosophical hygiene. So I do things that would be referred to as Buddhist, but I do not consider myself a Buddhist. There you go. Anyways, Chip-san would be Japanese. Anyways, Hal, this is why we must work to avoid totalitarianism. We need pluralism to assist in controlling corruption. That's right. And that's why even the opposition in a situation is a sign that your system works well. The fact that the Republicans can go off such a deep end and yet our system still holds. The Democrats have been passing shit tons of bills, and a lot of them bipartisan, even in spite of the worst intransigence on the Republican Party's side in our fucking history. I mean, since the Civil War, I guess. So, anyways, this is fucked up what's going on over there. For the first time in history, China's two largest technology companies posted a decline in revenue. Hold on, let me move this over here so I can actually look and see the decline in revenue and faces, as the nation faces unprecedented growth. Unprecedented growth hurdles and an uncertain outlook. Boy, are they just talk about like deep state comedy language. How can we be nice about something that is fucking horrifying? It's like trying to describe people who are not. You ever watch when there's a hurricane coming and there are people who are not leaving? They've got a mandatory evacuation and people are like, we're going to stay. And the local news is trying to find a way to talk about those people without saying, these fucking idiots are going to get themselves killed. You know how they try to, because they still think if we're nice about it, maybe they'll leave. But if we're dicks about it, they will just go, well, fuck you. I can prove I'm going to be all right. And then they end up getting killed. So you try to speak nicely to them. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. That's the state of the Chinese economy right now. The entirety of the CCP is a family of rednecks who are refusing to leave their trailer when everybody's going, a tornado has already touched down. I swear to God. That's what's happening. That's that's how it is around COVID. Yeah, well, that's their, in terms of COVID, their lockdown situation, they're just committed to it and they cannot. There's no way to create a soft landing out of zero COVID. You can't even tell that story. So, yeah, like the old people in Ukraine. Well, the old people in Ukraine, a lot of them, want to die on their land. It's even, it's less specific than that. I will say it's a little more like the vacationers in Crimea. Did you see that, like the huge explosion footage that was floating around and people were in fucking cabanas at the beach and they're like, look at that. Like, yeah, dummy, there's a fucking war going on and it's over the land your country took and you're on it. Like, you're squatting in an area where there's it's an open war zone, you dipshit. Get out of there. Like, honest to God, the fact that anybody would, like, I just want a Surf Crimea shirt right now in Russian. I think it would be awesome. Kind of, anyways. Yeah, the old people want to throw Molotov cocktails and be there when the soldiers, they figure these guys won't kill us because we're old. They might believe that a little bit too. It's not the case, but whatever. Anyway, so here we go. I got to shrink this down a little bit so it fits on the screen for you guys. Move in a little bit. There we go. So I can fit the whole of the text Um, this guy. That's a little better. Okay. C Limited, which operates online games and e-commerce portals, reported growth of 29%, the slowest in almost 5 years. We tend to think of revenue expansion as better than a decline, but in Singapore-based C's case, every dollar brought in through its e-commerce business is losing money. At least Tencent Holdings Limited and Alibaba Group Holding have continued to return profits even when the top line shrinks. Now, keep in mind, they got buried last year. Like Tencent and all those guys, like they're gaining, but after a huge fucking 3-year drop. So even, even though like, hey, we're heading up the hill. It's not a hill, asshole. You're still in the hole. That's the question about like inflation right now. Our inflation is referential to COVID still because August of last year was fucking Delta. When everything was like, wait, we're fine. No, we're not. And everything hit like inflation will be there'll be a spike in September because of the drop in activity in September of last year, inflation wise, like the economy shrunk in September because of Delta, because of the on-rolling effects of Delta. So the referential growth will be based on the hole you were in. So, 9% growth with an 8% hole is 1% growth. And if you need 5% growth, you can go, we grew 9%. You're like, no, you didn't. You need 14% growth to get back to where you were. That's where China is. China needs 5% growth minimum to maintain just the ability to feed their people. And if they've been in a 9% hole, they have to have sustained 14% growth. They have 2. Like, it's amazing to me. You might hear some just guitar checks going on. It's fucking awesome. Anyways, so let's look at our trends today, just because we're back to why this was a very bad, no good week for Donald Trump. Seized, not so good. When the word seized is showing up, let's see, because there's a lot of talk right now about, let's see, okay, there's a lot of things being seized. The literal gymnastics we're all having to do because a minority of Americans have seized power is exhausting. Rewiring, okay, seized, HHS, seized, such a lucky coincidence that now that there's a casket buried at Bedminster after Ivana's unfortunate sudden bout of staircase cancer, officially making it a cemetery. If Tish James seizes Trump properties when he's found guilty, Bedminster can't be seized. Yeah, it can. Like one grave on the site, your family can have it relocated, or the city can. It's not an ancient burial ground. They don't have a fucking... Do you have any idea how many cemeteries have been bulldozed in this fucking country over the years? Please. If Tish James ordered Bedminster to be seized, it will be tied up in court while they fight over how much the property is actually a cemetery. Yeah, I mean that's part of the attempt. But what a terrible, like, my hair looks great today. Great hair day. I look like big boy, big blonde boy. Yeah, one grave does not a cemetery make. That, believe me, that I'm sure the trial about that will be ridiculous. But the fact that why are the kids okay with this? If you think, I have a great relationship with my dad. I love my dad. And as contentious as my teen years with my dad, as a lot are, as many, boys and dads have, I respect the man and I love him. If he was like, we're burying your mom, who he's no longer married to, by the way. My mom's still alive, and she should stay that way for a long time, Mom, if you're watching. Just saying. But if he and his new wife said, we're burying your mom on our property, especially if it was public property, I'd be like, fuck you? No? Yeah, we're going to cremate your mom and bury a giant casket yards away from a golf course tee-off hole. Are you out of your fucking mind? And if they did it without my permission or I had a problem with it, I sure as shit wouldn't show up while they did it. Like I don't get it. Like, yeah, words would be would be the least of it, Chris. I mean, that is amazingly fucked up. Like this is how fucked up Trump is. We have breezed past the point that this asshole married, he's been upgrading from, he's married 3 times. He's upgraded to a younger model 3 times in a row, and he buried his ex on his golf course for what seems to be a tax break or to just throw a legal like shrapnel mine in front of his tax problems. Huh? Like, how about no? Like, how is that not like the motherfucker buried his ex-wife on his golf course? You know what I mean? Uh, it's almost as if it's just too much ridiculousness to bear during your day. Like a bunch of us, like I feel like it's one of those things that hits you in the middle of like standing in line to get a coffee someplace or waiting for your, when you you go to a restaurant and they give you one of those buzzers, like come back in a half hour, and you're waiting and the thing buzzes and you're like, oh shit, right, we still have a reservation, like because you've moved on. Like it's been 45 minutes and you're shopping like, what the hell is that? It's like that thought. It's like a sneeze popping into your head, when when a sneeze comes up and you're just like, you weren't in the process of sneezing a millisecond ago, and all of a sudden it's the most all-encompassing thing in your life. You know what I mean? Uh, that's the thought. This motherfucker buried his wife on his golf course. His ex-wife, his first of 3. What? What? How is that okay with any of these assholes? How is that okay? It's insanely creepy. Yeah. Oh, and well, I'm not going to get into the timing of it. I'm just going to assume it was natural causes. Sadly enough, that stuff happens. I am not ready to go into when I got Talk Soup, there was a punk band formed called the HAL Sparks Murder Conspiracy, which I think was based on the idea that I was murdered and someone replaced me before I got Talk Soup. It's kind of like the Paul is dead crowd. And I chose to think of it that way as opposed to an outward threat on my life, although I wouldn't rule that out either. But so that was my introduction to fan-based. There were 2 things. One, Hal Sparks and Drag, which was a website that's stored and the girl who did that website was like 15, 16 at the time, and she went on to be a writer on SNL. Just saying. She just liked the show, watched Talk Soup all the time, and she made pictures she photoshopped my head on women. That's what she did. And then the other thing that happened where I was like, what the hell is this fame thing, was the Hal Sparks murder conspiracy. So, anyways, yes, I am the real Hal Sparks. The bots are still... I love band intros. I love that, Rush comes out to the Three Stooges theme, and Metallica has the theme song to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The worst one ever was The Cult. I saw them in Seattle. I love The Cult, but they used the theme from Ghost in the Shell, which I fucking love. I love that. The original cartoon movie it is my favorite anime. It is my favorite cartoon movie, and just like Blade Runner is my favorite film. There's obviously a theme about humanity and technology. Maybe it's because I'm named after a computer that I took both of those movies personally, but we'll just leave it at that. But it's this. music. It's just like Japanese like scream singing. It's like an army of women yelling these weird notes, and it's really cool until the band is late and they've played it 8 times. And then you want to kill someone. You do not start the music until the band is all gathered and they're ready to go on stage. You do not play it as a warning to the band. Guys, get up there, especially when someone like Ian Astbury is in the band and he'll just sit there and go, just because you're playing the fucking song. Yeah. I was so sad when he left. I stopped watching TV until I discovered Jon Stewart. Now I feel like I missed him. Has anyone checked out She-Hulk? We'll do that. The song's called Rise. Yeah, it's lovely. It's awesome. But, anyways, so let's continue on our trends for the day. I've got to I got to make sure I stay on target this morning. Yes, that's right. Tickle the like button. Go ahead. Just wet the tip of your finger. Just see that little thumbs up? Just give that a little, if you would. Boing. By the way, I love the fluctuate because I'm in there's like, the overhead lighting in here is very convention center. And so if I move around, my camera tries to compensate for the coloring in here. It tries to make me like from green to human color again. It's fun to watch. Anyways, never mind. Okay, here we go. GOP Senate. They wish. Here we go. PayPal billionaire and Senate banker Peter Thiel has refused resource consent for the home in New Zealand because the lodge would create a sufficient adverse landscape and visual effects on the environment. Oh, because he was building some ridiculous thing in New Zealand, like with a helicopter pad, and just destroy the area. All right. I think
probably a greater likelihood the House flips to the Senate. Senate races are just different. They're statewide. Candidate quality has a lot to do with the outcome.
Yeah. Yes. Dr. Oz is a dickhead, and he's fucking the whole thing up. Tim Ryan is going to beat J.D. Vance. Georgia's going to stay Democrat across the board. Yeah, they're going to gain 2, maybe 3 seats in the Senate.
Well, I just am looking at the figures.
And the House seats, the Republicans, because of Trump, have spent so much time just trying to keep the Republican Party Trumpy that all their resources are being poured into fucking up Republican seats. You'd think they would learn something from the Justice Democrats. that swapping one for one is not a fucking victory. It doesn't bring you any closer to your goal. Seriously, like Liz Cheney versus Harriet Hagman, vote for vote, is going to have 0 fucking impact on House votes. 0. Hagman's not going to get on a fucking committee. McCarthy's not going to put her on there. She's creepy. Like everybody is, if she wins the seat, and there's always a chance that like Republicans that like Liz Cheney and Democrats in Wyoming could pair up and finally switch over. Like they could lose the fucking seat because Hagman's such a fucking lunatic. But even if they get her in there, so what's the difference? You think she's going to they're going to put her out as the face of the party? Really? She's just, it's absurd. And it's a waste. It's a waste of resources. This is what I've been saying to Democrats for a long time. You get no credit, progressives, for turning a blue district bluer. None. Because even pro-life Dems are pro-choice. They just will, go to limit the kind of material, unimportant aspects of it, which, by the way, placates a lot of the Republicans in some of these areas and keeps them from revolting and turning into lunatics. They put, limits on, the timing of one well past what the need genuinely is. They always put in stuff, for protections for rape and incest, survivors, that kind of stuff. Even at their worst, pro-life Dems are still pro-choice. You can be both, unless you're a Republican, in which case you can only be pro-life, and it is against choice. It's not, and that's why I would argue that they are not pro-life; they are anti-choice. Otherwise, they'd be all for S-chip, for example, like children's insurance. Here's the argument. State insurance till you're 18 years old. State insurance once you hit 85. Everybody else get private insurance. You could, if you are not disabled or unable to work. I mean, you could reshape the status of healthcare in our fucking country just based on that. If you were pro-life, that's something you would shoot for. Yeah, 85, because Medicare would be at 65, but total coverage at 85, like you're a child again. Once you hit 85, your medical needs become much more aligned with children, right? I mean, I'm not saying this is my proposal as what I would think would be optimal. I'm saying if you were pro-life in some way, you would just do that. You'd go, I don't think it's communism at all. If you're not 18, you're still a child, and if you're over 85, God bless you. Thanks for soldiering on all this time. You're an old person, you can't walk around, right? I'm saying if you were really pro-life, you would automatically we got to do that. But they're not. It's an absurdity. You need to get rid of the middlemen. That's why you're overcharged. Yeah, we need to buy across state lines, too. It's one of the areas where the Commerce Clause somehow doesn't matter. It's always weird to me. Okay.
We're going to lose the fucking Senate because Dr. Oz is a crudité dickhead. That's my problem right now.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, and can I just say that, hats off, Joe Biden. God damn, that's a lot of stuff. The irony is that I think Trump's, we did more in, the first year of our presidency than blah, blah, blah. Not even close to true. It was always a lie. But damn, is he getting steamrolled by Joe Biden. Everybody is. Obama's calling up, going, maybe look, you're making me look bad, Joe. Slow down. Tap the brakes, buddy. And Mark Levin.
McConnell, let's go. Mr. Producer?
Right. Our midterm forecast. Well, yeah, that's why he's got to go. He's telling the truth. I think Autograph is playing. I don't know if the bands are in alphabetical order or what. That's definitely they're sound checking for real. It's great. I don't know if you can hear any of it because I put a noise filter on because it's so goddamn loud. The wall behind me is vibrating. Jimmy Advance positioned himself to exploit a controversial Wall Street tax loophole while running an investment fund reportedly backed by Jeff Bezos, the Kochs, and the Waltons, according to new financial disclosures. Oh, that's fun. There we go. 50-42. Mark Kelly. Way to go, man. And that's how it's going to be. And they're going to claim that it was stolen and all this kind of shit, even though a couple months out, we know gas prices are going to keep going down. They're going to exploit, by the way, watch for the September exploitation of the difference year over year in inflation, that it'll, it was 0 in July and it was 0.01% in August. And then it'll be 1%, therefore it's 10, that kind of language. They're going to, the real number is way worse, that kind of shit, in September, but that's not going to last, and that talking point will die before October. Oh, this is so fun. GOP Senate group cancels ad buys in these battleground states. Ooh. Yeah, Mark Kelly's a good dude. Ooh. Senate GOP's campaign arm has significantly scaled back its ad buys in 3 battleground states, signaling potential fundraising issues. Yeah, Trump's eating all their fucking money still. That's the other thing. Go, Trump, go. Go, Trump, go. Like, do it, buddy. Announce. You're going to have to pull out because of health reasons in the spring anyways, so you might as well just go for it. New York Times is first to report the National Republican Senatorial Committee will be dialing back its ad buys in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. That's, oh, man. The 3 states Trump has been shitting on voting in the most. I mean, Georgia, obviously, but more attacks on Kemp than the voting system itself. Magoo! They're already revolting. It's true. They've been revolting for a long time. To the tune of around $10 million. They're trying to save money for elsewhere. The National Republican Senatorial Committee has cut more than $5 million in Pennsylvania, including its reservations in the Philadelphia media market. They're not going to get fucking Oz elected there. Singularly, that crudité bullshit, that's like Howard Dean's, yeah! That will, one of these days, people will refer back to the crudité moment where he's, my wife's trying to make some crudité. It's like buying bags, and then Fetterman just going, you can buy it's prepped. It's fucking, this is what people do. It's fucking cut carrots and stuff. It's like $6. Al Mark Kelly is great until you see his I'm pro cop advertisement. You guys know I'm the wrong person to try and worry with that. That's not what he means. Supporting law enforcement in general is not supporting the Derek Chauvins of the world. End of fucking conversation. And anybody who tells you that is trying to diminish the number of active and functioning police officers in impoverished areas, which increases the chance of people, A, getting murdered by their neighbor, or being killed by a cop because they're outnumbered in a situation. It's a stupid conversation. If you defund the police, it only defunds it in impoverished areas where people are more victimized. It's an anti-victim mentality, and I won't stand for it. Fuck that. End of story. And it's one of the ways that Democrats lose seats. It's a stupid conversation. What you want is the COPS program that Biden Obama put in, and you want it reinforced, and you need it like iron fucking clad. And that's that. Seriously. Yeah, the calling stuff pro cop in that regard is meant to be like a progressive talking point, and all it does, I mean, it's just dumb. What we need is mental health services. That has nothing to do with cops on the street. Fucking nothing. Zero. There is no reason why 1-to-1 you have to take money out of cops to give it to mental health services. That is a dodge by Republican governors and Republican state senators more than anybody else, making it look like it's a 1-to-1 trade-off. It is not. It need not be. That's absurd. That's like saying, well, there's a lot of fires in the area and we need more firemen, but we're going to have to cut back on firemen or it's school lunches. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Budgetarily, there is no that's our trade-off. No. That's a conversation that people bring up around to avoid talking about taxes. And again, full stop. No. Stupid conversation point. Honest to God. Lumping any person who's awful in with a group of people is a form of bigotry. It's a mistake. It's always bad, and I will not stand for it. It's a ridiculous way of acting. It's the same as making every group good because of one good person amongst them. Individual behavior matters, and the general trend of human beings is valuable for conversations around budget and those kind of things, but you handle criminal acts by individuals as criminal acts by individuals. Once you get into group packaging around them, you give the criminal more benefits than they deserve, or the bad person, in case of a bad cop, more benefits than they deserve, and you dismiss the victims. It's wrong. Yes, it shows little discernment, and all it does is guarantee a talking point to Republicans that ultimately again, it's like, I mean, we can have this conversation a dozen times. Full stop. That is like my baseline. Just saying. Twitch leftists or what? Sorry. That's right. Woke in the hospital and nasty stitches holding my scalp together. That I'm very sorry to hear that. In 1977, you'll be happy to know that during the Obama-Biden administration, they put the COPS program together to help broom out bad cops who are violent, so that they give more leverage to hire better cops, and because a lot of these places are like they're understaffed to begin with, if they start brooming out him because he's a dick before it leads up to something worse. This person has not acted in the egregious way that will eventually become a problem. They are just shy of that, like the Chauvins of the world. They're like, well, it's either that or a gap. And they'll take that over the gap every time, because in a bad situation, you want as many people on, there, because you'll have fewer victims to scoop up off the pavement. Cops are the civilian version of the military. Well, not in the United States, and they're not supposed to be. It's crucial. That's why there are rules about the level of armament and the level of material, like as far as weapons and gear that they have in their interaction with the populace. They've got shotguns and possibly AR-15s in the trunk of their cars for emergencies, but they do not deal with them as the primary weapon when they're dealing with a civilian problem. And that is an important distinction that we need to keep. And the divisive conversation about it, unfortunately, raises the chances that, as these open carry pricks are out on the street, that cops will have to start carrying equal, weapons because of the very Republicans that supposedly support them. The irony meter is fucking peaked with these pricks. So, anyways, you guys know my feeling about this. I will not be moved on that part of it. I care too much about people who are victims of crimes to even worry about that part of it. You need good, decent people managing government. You cannot throw your government into the hands of piggish pricks like Donald Trump and think it's going to turn out well. If there's anything trickle down about the Republican Party, it's not trickle down economics. It's behavior. It's what it lets off the chain. So this is the GOP Senate thing is McConnell telling the truth. Joan Walton. For all the crying on the right about seizing documents, not a single lawyer on the Trump team has filed a motion to unseal the affidavit. The major lawyers that were there representing the unseal it part were largely media, largely like New York Times, WAPO and stuff, right to know kind of shit, which is just dumb. Fucking here, let me explain something to you, if I may. Point of order, Mr. Chairman. If the affidavit is unsealed willy-nilly and they just release it in the names of, in the name of transparency, and they, in the middle of an investigation, which is ongoing and it's been going on for the last year and a half. If that gets out, Trump will complain at one point because what's in it will be so damning, and the people that, were the informants inside will end up having to testify in open court more than likely, which will be very damning towards him. So Trump will claim he can't get a fair trial because there's too much information out there, and the public has already made up their minds. And there won't be enough maggots allowed on the jury to fix it for him. That the prosecution will be able to broom people who show up with a fucking Trump Rambo flag, and he'll go, it's rigged. Can we just understand that we have come to, in our country, certain regulations and things that were based on an early necessity because we lacked technology to make up for a gap in something. And so those things can be broomed. But there's a certain level of behavior that, this is my argument against like anarchists all the fucking time. You don't think we had anarchy at one point? We did. Everybody had anarchy. And all of them said, pass. All of them. They're like, I'll take a theocrat. I'll take a king. I'll take a Senate-based system with a Caesar on top of it. Anything but just random Like every person for themselves. What the fuck is that for, right? We've had anarchy. And it's the same way like the Republicans seem to be hell bent on with the gun policies that they push forward, that they want us all to go back to the Wild West. We had that. Yes, that's a kick drum test. Well done. We had that. I'll tell you what, we even had defund the police in the Wild West. One sheriff. If you were a rich town, one deputy, that's the whole of law enforcement until somebody in a stagecoach comes and picks up the bad guy who you have to keep in the fucking building and hope his family doesn't show up where there's 9 of them and two cops and just fucking shoot the place up. You had to form posses and it was volunteer. If you had a chance of pushing back against the people who owned the valley. Around so many fucking towns. We were there. We have tried and maybe it'll be fine. Like, just let them, that's okay. Right, Deadwood, sure. The water wars are about to begin out west so that, hold on, let me put this in. Somebody said, so put a finger in that, whatever. So that will put a finer point on it. Well, Newsom was against the desalinization plant that's going in near Orange County. Now he's for it, which he should be. We should have 3 major desalinization plants in California. We should also have 3 new nuclear facilities, smaller, but that's what California needs. It could be 100%. Like zero carbon, not net zero, but total zero carbon as far as energy in the state with that alone. But if you're going to have desalinization plants, you're going to need, it requires a lot of energy. No, the big thing that you're going to see is cloud seeding. Technologically, that's the biggest, I mean, nature is the biggest desalinizer in the world. Rain. Thank you. Thanks very much. People are screaming in the next room or something. I don't know. I think Joe Satriani is here and he's signing guitars like 3 rooms down. I hope you guys know how much I love you that I'm here instead of there. What she's wearing, jorts or something? Oh, like cut off shorts? Or what? Why do we care? Tight shorts, like who cares? Who, honest to God? So that's her publicist going, you're wearing these, we'll just call it a thing. You used to listen to Joe Satriani cassette tapes back in the 90s, as did I. We did cloud seeding in my town. They voted away after our rain amounts dropped drastically. Well, the issue is not, it's not a matter of if. It's already happening. The United States is probably doing it to some extent. China's definitely doing it. They're using aluminum and barium more than likely to do it. Because, I mean, they don't care about the environmental things at all. They're going to Occam's razor the shit out of the shortest trend. By the way, Martin Short is trending because he's wonderful, just for the record. This story, if you haven't watched this clip, of him messing with Fallon, it's just beautiful. Like it's, you can tell he's been hanging with Steve. Steve used to work very hard on his appearances on the Tonight Show. They would come up with some sort of specific gag that they were going to do because that was, part of the thing back then. Especially, Carson era. And it's nice to see people treating it like that again. You're supposed to watch the Tonight Show and other shows like that and go, oh my God, thank God for people like Martin Short. Actors are boring. You're supposed to. And so I tweeted this morning because I was like, come on. You can't just let his name trend. Yeah. I love Martin Short, and we are so lucky to have him on so many fronts. Agreed. I feel like I got in on the ground floor of Martin Short years ago. By the way, Jiminy Glick and La La Land. If you haven't, sorry, La La Wood. If you haven't seen it, and you're going like, I always loved Martin Short. I've always been a fuck you. That movie needs a resurgence. Jiminy Glick and La La Wood is a perfect comedy character movie. There's a SNL kind of a trick where they'll take a character from the show and they'll make a movie, and most of them suck. Most of them are terrible. Occasionally you have a Wayne's World or something where they really do make it. They really blow up. The character has room to grow. And they build out the universe. But most of the time, right? I mean, come on. Inner Space is just great. But the Jiminy Glick and Lala, he was making that when I was in Toronto doing Queer as Folk. It was the first season of Queer as Folk. He was shooting that. He was in town. And every time I was like, I'm going to go see Martin Short while he's here in town, wherever he is. Like, I'm going to try and, because we knew people in production who were working on it or had worked on part of it and were coming back to work with us. And like, yeah, I was working on that. And then, this is the regular gig. So I'm coming back to you guys, but they're still shooting and stuff. And I'm like, where is he? Where is he going to be? I want to show up. Because I was on his talk show back in the day. I was Me Too'd by Martin Short twice. And I'm saving that story. Just say it. Yeah. Once on his show and once in Broadway backstage at his thing. He's just so fucking funny. He's just such a great human. Anyways, so yes, you do have to know that story, and I'm not telling it until I'm given a proper venue for it. What's the trend of Brian Stelter? The reliable sources. They killed reliable sources of show. I mean, it was effectively, it was a weekly show and it's a dud. Like they're trying to find a way to put Stelter sort of out to pasture for them. He's a good reporter, but he's on camera. He's not that great, and it became fodder for the right, so it doesn't really help in that regard. It's sort of like that's Brian Setzer you're thinking of, Human F being. Hashtag explosion. I hope that's not good. Okay, something trending in Africa. Hello. En c'est de Provence, le bruit de l'énorme explosion entendu dans le appel. What? Appel maritime s'arrête du passage d'un avion de chasse dans le ciel de la Côte d'Azur. Yeah. Saw explosion training, y'all posting nonsense. In today's environment, this ain't it. Like, yeah, don't hashtag explosion unless I need to know about it. The remaking of Demi Lovato, I'm owning my dark side. Jesus Christ. Just the fucking try harder. McConnell, again.
Everything's going to be fine. We're going to lose the Senate. More than likely, we're going to lose Senate seats, and we're probably going to. These House Republicans are fucking lunatics, so we're done.
Oh, the internet is down. Great. Unless there's a song called Internet Down. I mean, arguably, if as a songwriter, I don't know why, Weird Al, I would never give notes to, but Al could put out an entire album, and all the songs are Twitter is down, Facebook is down, like hashtag Facebook down, hashtag Twitter down, hashtag Instagram down, hashtag internet down, and like literally. Je parle français comme une bouche espagnole. Thanks for noticing. But he could literally, and then every time it trended, the videos would just pop up. Just saying. Internet Down is a great name for a band. That's true. That's totally true. But they have to be all. They have to be an analog band. The Bears. Look at that. HBO Max removes about 200 Sesame Street episodes. Okay. Too much Spanish? I don't know. All right, who cares? Oh, the Libertarian Party. That's adorable. Liz Cheney, like Libertarian Party. Liz Cheney for prison. What a bunch of douchebags. Liz Cheney will never run for any member of my Libertarian Party. She's doing anything. The Libertarian Party is not a fucking party. Libertarianism is not a governing philosophy, nor is it a functional system for governing. Seriously, like the Libertarian Party and libertarian, like the concept of libertarianism is not useful in talking about governing. You might as well just you might as well start a party based on sourdough bread. We govern based on a principle of how much oxygen should be in dough and how much pulling and what yeast you should use. And so we're dedicating our Medicare policy based on a particular yeast that's been like, fuck off. It's just dumb. Waste. What is this? I call on the FBI to release the details of its investigation and pursue criminal charges against all individuals who knowingly participate in Epstein's extravaganza, including government officials. Till Angela LNC chair of the Blue, the Libertarian Party is demanding accountability for all Epstein. So is everybody else. You're not fucking original. Just trying to trend for something other than being useless. Libertarians, you're hilarious. You're ridiculous. You just were born into the wrong era. You were just born in the wrong century. And the irony is, if you were born in the century where you could have pulled off your lifestyle, you'd have fucking hated it. Everybody in your family would have died of dysentery. Everyone. 15 to 20 total vomits per practice from the offensive lineman under the... What? Everybody's throwing up at practice because of workouts? Okay. Hashtag New York Times, fine. Trump's legal woes enter yet another protracted phase. Yeah, it's not going to happen immediately. People did, and then once a story comes up about the New York Times or about something like that, all the bots' job now is to flood the zone with shit using New York Times as a way of like hiding whatever the initial story, whatever it was, by burying it under a bunch of crap. That's now one of the systems that troll farms operate in. Zaporizhzhia. This is about the nuclear power plant. Yeah. Gee, Putin blames the Ukrainians for the danger of at Zaporizhzhia. Shut the fuck up. They mine the place, and then they're like, if you try and take back your power plant, we're going to blow it up, and it'll be your fault because you didn't let us have it. Get fucked, you clowns. All right, so Russian forces are interfering with staff manning struggle. The smuggled video reveals Russian troops have staged military vehicles and munitions inside the plant facility. Of course they have, because they know it won't be hit. They're like, well, if you can't have it, if we can't have it, no one will. Shelling Zaporizhzhia power plant threats U.S. and NATO, says that Russian military will continue fighting even in the event of radioactive contamination. They have protective... What? Russian military will continue fighting. They have protective suits. Yeah, they totally do. You see the video of the dude punching his helmet and making a big dent in it just by hitting it with his fist? Oh, there's hot audio. I think it's because the noise suppression is the noise suppressor is trying to. Sorry if it's acting weird. Nuclear roulette, yeah. There are no weapons on the territory of the nuclear power. Russian Foreign Ministry of Clowns. The boxes that are exclusive are exclusively with humanitarian aid. Russia does realize they don't control the wind, right? And that if this place goes, more of Russia will be contaminated by this fucking place than any other country, certainly except for the direct territory around of Ukraine around it. Good Lord. Today is the anniversary of another Kremlin crime. After German invasion in 1941, NKVD blew up the Dnipro hydropower station in Zaporizhia. A 165-meter-long breach in the dam caused a wave which washed off up to 120,000 Ukrainian civilians, 20,000 Red Army, and 1,500 Germans. Good Lord. Thanks for piping in, Democracy Now! What are you doing? I love you guys, but what the fuck? Russia has rejected a call by the United Nations to create a demilitarized zone around the Russian-controlled Zaporizhia nuclear power as fighting threatens Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Oh, they rejected a call, did they? They mined the fucking place. They're storing weapons there. Has rejected calls by the United Nations. Is that the cleanest description of events, Democracy Now! Like I said, I love you guys, but what the fuck? Good Lord. UN Chief Generals asked that Russians occupied Zaporizhia nuclear plant not be cut off from the Ukrainian grid. Right. It's got to keep running. Yeah, this is this area. Yeah, that's just gross. Stabilized footage from inside the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant was recorded in secret by some brave employees. It proves the Russian military is hiding military vehicles in the plant. Any comment? Amnesty International? Right. So they're walking along carrying it. There's the vehicles right there. There's the military gear. You're just parking them inside. Yikes. Yeah, that's the footage. That's the original footage. And that person's in fucking danger. Anybody can tell who was walking by at that time. Yeah, sorry, there's a noise gate on my voice because there's so much background noise that I'm sorry if it affects the audio too much, but it's better than the other sounds that happen. It gets better when there's not too much noise. Yeah. Russian forces are accumulating significant amounts of equipment in the engine rooms directly next to the reactors. It's going to end badly. I honest to God, I think this is going to be ground 1-to-1 fighting. Yeah, there they are. Look at the Z trucks. I mean, the story of Zaporizhia will be, one for the ages when they reclaim it. Yeah, this is what a nuclear disaster would be like. In case of nuclear disaster having occurred in August 1518, this is how the released airborne radioactive contaminants would probably get dispersed. Ukrainian Meteorological Institute. This is like looking at the weather right there. The wind changes, however. I mean, that's reason enough for them to. I mean, it goes right over Kiev. I mean, basically, Russia would just be giving cancer to millions of Europeans on purpose. I mean, think of it as a chemical weapons attack or chemical and biological weapons attack. Ukraine will target Russian forces at Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, says Ukraine. U.S. and U.K. should tell Zelensky to stop bombing. They're not. Biden and Blinken are countenancing a very serious war crime. No, they're not. And they're going to target them around it, and then they're going to so that they can send in soldiers to demine and get the soldiers out of there and free the people who are being effectively used as slave labor there. Leaflets are being distributed using Kherson residents not to accept Russian passports. So far, only 1% of Kherson and Zaporizhzhia accepted Russian citizenship. Yeah, how many at gunpoint? Russian military vehicles inside the turbine hall, Ukraine's Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. 130 meters from the reactor, at least 5 vehicles, the one clearly marked with the pro-war Z are seen on the top of them. There's 2, yeah, I saw 2 trucks with the Z on them. Yeah, this is probably the most concerning part is that Russia, quite frankly, is so inept and their forces so bungling that even if they're driven out, a lot of the damage that they do could be just incidental garbage stuff. I mean, the way they leave like grenades tied to doors when they're leaving a town, just so that the people returning, like go into their kitchen to see if there's anything there, open a drawer and get their face blown off. Just killing civilians that way, just booby trapping. Like you always think of like any military movie I've ever seen. There's always this thing about like the irony that it's the second one that came to mind was a Steven Seagal movie. A lot of a lot of military movies, like guys take a grenade and they know they're being followed by the opposing force, so they rig something so that if they open the door it blows, that kind of stuff. Pretty standard. But the idea that the forces aren't right on your back. You're not trying to delay them to protect yourself. You're not, setting up booby traps so that you have time to get away. And if it will slow them down, if they see the wires, if they see the stuff, they will have to take time to defuse the booby traps or stop them from going off, whatever they are. Because I can't get out of my head the spike arm from First Blood, which I like still is one of the most shocking things I've ever fucking seen in my life in a movie. But you do that because they're following you, and you either need to stop them so that they can't follow you anymore, or make them less apt to speed through the area you leave behind so that you can escape. That makes sense. None of that is happening in places like Bucha or any of these other places. Like they pulled out, and it wasn't because the forces are around that corner 10, 15, 20 feet away, or they're running in or whatever. They're just leaving whatever munitions behind so that when the civilians return, they're injured. As like revenge. These are revenge booby traps. Yeah, the reason I think of it is that there's a rigged doorway Under Siege, and they're following him through. He's running away, and he puts a little like C4 explosive, whatever, and he runs away. And Tommy Lee Jones's character knows that's what's going to happen. He goes, he's given do not follow orders to all of his guys, and he's like, stand fast, and the guy opens the door anyways, and yeah, yeah, exactly. They're booby trapping dead people, which is not, the Russians are booby trapping corpses, which means aid workers and family members and civilians and EMTs and fucking the coroner who already has their entire situation. Like, these are revenge booby traps. What the fuck is the background? It's a circuit board. I don't know. It's a circuit board. So, yeah, let's see. Where am I? Let's see if there's oh, there was something else I wanted to show you guys. Yeah, this part, I'm just enjoying it. This is Trump regrets endorsing awful Dr. Oz, one of the most flawed candidates the Republicans have nominated. For the record, I disagree. He's a dick. He's not from Pennsylvania. He has 10 homes, not 2. He's got a house that he lives in regularly in Turkey. He's basically an unpaid Turkish lobbyist, like a lobbyist for Turkey. And but I mean, for fuck's sake, one of the what 1,000 that they've floated over the last 6 years that are just nuts. Are you kidding me? He's just he's a shit candidate. It's basically they're running into the problem that it's hard to create the same smokescreen that Trump created for years. It won't be enough. Trump's mythology was strong enough to carry him through, and NBC participated in it, and the art of the deal, and all the backstory, and the like 80s exceptionalism, the cocaine and gilded new money asshole empires that were built during that time, created a mythology that Trump could ride in. But fool me once, you can't be fooled again. So a lot of people are having trouble trying to run as another version of Trump. So that's where ultra MAGAs come in, or this kind of blue collar MAGA version of events, where I might not be as successful as him, but I believe in what he believes in. That's how they're doing it. But Oz is supposed to be, he had a TV show. He's got name recognition. He's rich. He's been in everybody's living rooms. They watched his show. That should be enough. It ain't. It's not going to be. So, Donald Trump regrets endorsing celebrity Mehmet Oz after his poll numbers have cratered over the summer. Sources close to the former president say he's increasingly concerned that Oz will lose his Pennsylvania Senate race against John Fetterman. He's going to. And it's finally starting to sink in with Trump that the polls are not phony or skewed, reported by Rolling Stone. This is not a matter of the polls being rigged. There are major problems with this campaign, and more specifically the candidate, one source said. Allies have been showing the polling, which have sometimes shown Oz trailing by double digits, and Trump is have been shown the polling, beg your pardon. And Trump is personally insulted that his endorsed candidate is losing to Fetterman, who was sidelined for weeks on the campaign trail while recovering from a stroke. His view that it would be incredibly embarrassing for Oz if he loses to, quote, that guy because he thinks so little of Fetterman. Like, he gives a fucking shit. He doesn't know anything about Fetterman. He just thinks Oz has name. He's been on television. He was friends with Oprah. So was I. That should be enough, right? It ain't. He thinks Fetterman is in poorer shape than Biden and is hidden in his basement more than Joe Biden. No, it's just stupid. They one note. Trump is increasingly frustrated by Oz's inability to connect with voters. I don't know. There's a time, maybe things have moved on. There was a time where in Philadelphia, just saying crudité in a grocery store would get you beat up. So, progress. Did Jens just say crudité? Right. The former president has used words like lousy and awful and doesn't make sense to describe how Dr. Oz has been campaigning against Fetterman over the summer, said another Trump advisor weeks ago, is when Trump first started asking me and other people, is he going to fucking lose? I'm positive that I'm not the only one to tell him he probably will if something big doesn't change. Nothing big is going to change. The only thing that would change is that Fetterman has, God forbid, another stroke or something like that, and he's not going to. The National Republican Senate Committee recently pulled ads for Oz and 2 other GOP Senate candidates. Trump allies said he made a mistake by endorsing the first-time political candidate. Really? You don't think the fact that when Trump introduced him, he was booed for introducing him, and Oz booed, and the maggots in the front row all turned their back on him? You don't think that was the first fucking clue? You think Trump, like, it just now it's occurring to him? We all watched that live. The front two rows turned their, what kind of nutty, weird, slacktivist bullshit is that? Ugh, so good. President Trump was best served at the minimum staying neutral in the primary, he said, which he couldn't. Sam Nunberg, Jesus Christ. Instead, he wholeheartedly endorsed one of the most flawed candidates Republicans have ever nationally nominated. I'm glad Sam Nunberg is making the distinction that this is a nationally nominated. Like, at least the other shitty ones they barely told anybody about, or it never made the news. It's because Trump will only nominate people that he thinks have national cue. Like when Trump thought London liked him. Exactly. Isn't that racist enough? Hard to say. I mean, I don't. Again, yeah. Well, I'm fine with just starting with him being useless. Like, why do we even have to dig down into what these people's souls are made of when their physical person is incapable of actually being a functioning member of the government? You know what I mean? It's like I give a fuck what his favorite color is. He'll be terrible. Like for the state of Pennsylvania. I give a shit. Trump is providing alarming evidence of his intentions. Well, he's just like, he's like, sorry. Kash Patel, what? Revealed his plot to post declassified documents on his website at least 6 times. What? ABC News cited an old interview with Kash Patel, the former chief of staff for the Defense Department under Donald Trump. By the way, he was put in after the election, before, as Trump was leaving office. But, that's when a lot of the stuff that they are finding at his property, that's when that shit would have been copied and started being packed up to be delivered to Mar-a-Lago. Was when Chris Miller and Kash Patel started working over at the Pentagon, in which he revealed his plot to post declassified documents on his personal website. While ABC noted his remarks came weeks before the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, there were at least 6 other times where Patel outlined his plot in just security notice. The same day that Kash Patel bragged he would take on his new job organizing Trump's National Archives directory, the Justice Department gave Trump the subpoena that he turned over surveillance footage from Mar-a-Lago. Patel, who previously worked for Devin Nunes, then went on other right-wing streaming shows to talk about his plot. Conservative writer John Solomon penned a column revealing in June that Trump was subpoenaed for videos looking at the place where the government documents were being kept. It was then revealed that Solomon was also given the National Archives assignment that Patel scored too. That's because if Trump deliberately allowed people not permitted access to classified documents, or his negligence allowed people to remove such documents, it would trigger other parts of the Espionage Act. By the way, Kash Patel doesn't have the right to look at that stuff. John Solomon doesn't have the right to look at that stuff. Trump's declassification of anything to do with the Mueller probe is achingly broad and stupid, because that does not include anything in dealing with our NatSec relationship with Russia, for example. So I mean, they're going to go first. Hi guys, if you're Trump's if you're his lackeys, if you help them carry stuff around, you're just as guilty as he is, and he won't care. He barely knows you. Kash Patel. He couldn't pick you out of a lineup. He can today. Tomorrow, not so much. John Solomon, I mean, it sounds like somebody who was a host. That guy used to host NPR's Morning Edition or something, right? Didn't he? Yeah, I have to thank you for reminding me. I can start getting dressed soon. Let's see. There's no... Yeah. He went on to explain that Trump declassified the documents on the way out of the White House. There's no paper trail to confirm this. No, he didn't. He cannot magically wave his fucking hand and declassify NatSec documents on his way out. Otherwise, like, Do you realize the standard we would have to elect anybody from now on to protect against something that fucking absurd? Think about, like, you would literally we'd have to set up safeguards. If you're going to give someone that kind of power and that kind of responsibility and that kind of just ability to declassify stuff like that, you would have to set a standard by which anybody who could even get that job would have to pass a national security background check. But since we have open elections in this country, the safeguards have to come after. They come in the bureaucracy because any prick can get into the office, as we now know. So you've got to set up those safeguards after the fact. They were blessed with the secrecy of the Lord. Christopher Miller has a serial killer signature. The Trump staff said nothing ever happened like the magical declassification. Agreed. Probably had to go through more background checks to be a teacher. I agree. You'd have to breed them like royals. You're not wrong, Sydney. That's exactly right. That's arguably one of the reasons you can even think of it as picking a family you let run things, because they're tough enough to beat up the other families, and they will at least run things for a while and keep things stable so I can just get back to feeding my family. That you can argue that the beginnings of monarchical leadership happened out of that kind of choice by a group of people that one-to-one at least had one member of their family who could beat the living snot out of one of the other members of any of the other families. And so one particular family taking over the area and running the place had to have, even on a monarchical level, had to have some level of initial trust before you gave them control of the place and let them carry the scepter and wear the crown. I mean, of course, notwithstanding anybody who found a sword in a pond, obviously. Thank you, Helene. Yes, I've got to stop talking. You're right. I'm going to sign off now, guys, if that's all right with you, and I will see you guys this afternoon. I've got this setup will stay, so hopefully I will be able to do this afternoon show. Again, I will probably only do an hour, if that's okay with everybody this afternoon. And fingers crossed, we should be all right. I'm not sure what I'm going to end up having to do about tomorrow because it is a travel day. But I'm going to have to work that out today because the flights got shifted, and so I would fly during the radio show tomorrow. So I might just have to do a best of. Wish me luck. Yeah, so that's that. And then I've got a show tomorrow night, and then on Sunday it's a travel day, so I will not be speaking at all. I will be miming everywhere I go. All right, to let my voice recover. Anyways, I love you guys. I appreciate you being here. Thank you guys so much for the support, for the subscriptions. I'm sorry if I don't get to those things because in this setup I don't see them as much, but they do go by the top up here, and bless you guys for that. I appreciate it very, very much. That's the Cash App, which is normally, it's different from the Venmo or whatever. If you take a picture of that with your phone, you can support the show if you use Cash App. That's one of the ways you can do it. Otherwise, I'll have the Venmo picture up for the afternoon show. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Oh, it's getting loud. All right, I got to stop talking. I got to do it. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Bye.